Hi everybody, and welcome back to my next Christmas sugar cookie decoration. Let me show what we're going to make in this one. So here's our mittens that we're actually going to work on making. We're not going to cover the poinsettias. My mom made those. I did all the decorating, but let's get going on the video. Here's one of my trays of cookies. They've dried overnight, and so now I'm going to start doing the piping. And this is the part that I really enjoy because you can just do lots of different things and do lots of different designs. So that's what we're going to get to now. I'm just going to make my piping icing consistency. For this, I have just a small bowl that I'm going to use, and I'm going to take and get some of my icing. This is from the big bowl that I had yesterday, because I'm not going to use near as much as I did. And you can see, I mean, look at the difference in consistency. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of that icing that my flooding icing, I'm just going to squeeze it in. And this is all about consistency. So, because it's already got my flavoring and stuff. Here, let's just move that out of the way. It's already got some peppermint in it. I'm not worried about the piping having a lot of peppermint in it. But like right now, it's sort of, you know, you can see we want it nice and smooth. So we're just gonna work it till we start getting that smoothness and want to get that right texture. If it's too thick, it's not gonna pipe smoothly. So I want to get it to, some people say like a toothpaste consistency. We'll see what we get here. So I'm not putting in all my leftover icing. I'm doing it bit by bit, because that, of course, has the water in it, so my consistency will change. And you can see already how that is changing, and it's already smoothing out. And I mean, if you get it in a bag and it's just not flowing, you can always take it out and then go from there. All right, let's see, it's still a bit stiff. Because if it's too stiff, it's hard on your wrists and your hands to pipe it. The consistency I had for the wrist part on my cookies, or this part right here, that was a bit thick, and it does play havoc on your hands. You can get sore hands, and if you're doing lots and lots of cookies, you don't want that. Okay, so that's, you can see when I pull, I think we're about where I want to be. And again, like I said, there's no fast and hard rule. It's about you, I'm going to put the rest in. It's about you playing around with it and finding, it's all about feel, I think. It's how it feels to you. So let's just get that mixed in there. And I'm gonna try that. Now, let's take a look at my tips. So these are all the different tips that I have, and you want to get the right tip. And so like this is a 3, so you can see that's bigger. So there's numbers on the sides of them. So that's a 3. That's a bigger tip. Now this is probably a 3 as well. Where's my numbers? And some brands are a bit different. Oh, that's a 4. Okay, and I think this is my 2. Yep, that's my 2. So I want to use a 2 and a 3. And I am going to grab these, and this is so that your tip will fit on there. This will lock it into place. That's on your bag. So I'm going to take one of my bags. And this is so like you can quickly switch from one tip to another. And I tend to cut my bags just on a bit of an angle. And then you can tell it's still sticking out there, so I need to make it a little bit shorter. Not too short, because you can go from one extreme to the other very quickly. And my bag doesn't want to come up. because you have to have enough of the bag to lock it all into place. And these scissors are not very good. Okay, let's see if that works. There we go. So I mean, a bit of it is sticking out. That's not a problem. And I think I'm gonna start with my 3. I won't do the fancy one yet. And so you just screw it on, and that locks it on over the paper and over the bag. And so you want to make sure your bag's longer so there's actually something to lock in there. And then I'm just going to fill in my bag. And so I just use a large cup. Drop it in there. Opens it up. I mean, it's a pain if you're trying to hold it. And still seems a bit... You know what? I'm going to give it just a squirt. I think it just feels a bit stiff for me. Yeah, that's what I want. Okay. At least for now. Once we get it in there, we'll decide. Okay, so I'm just going to put the whole amount in. And take all of the icing out of the bowl because it's just going to dry. I mean, what you can do is put like a wet paper towel over top of it. That'll help the icing not dry. So that's what you can do. Like if you have a bowl of it and you don't have a lid, I have a lid, but you can put a wet or a damp tea towel over top of it, and that will keep the moisture in there and stop it from drying out. All right. So this is, like I said, where the fun begins. So where's my bag? So you can see there's a gap there. So I'm going to do some massaging again because we don't want any air bubbles in there because that'll break your chain. So like, where is it? I just saw it, like there's air there. So you just, massage it, work it. And then bring it all down into the tip. I'm just gonna, there, it's coming out. Ooh, that's nice. And just gonna put my little ring on it. And because I don't have a lot of bags, I'm not worried about color coding my bags. I usually do that when I have 8 colors, because I'll have a piping green and a flooding green. So I'm just gonna start, and it's all about creativity. So I am going to do, well, that's perfect. And you just sort of let it fall into place. And I'm just, sort of dividing the thumb. And you can see I have some bubbles in here right there. You can mess around with it if you want. I'm just going to give it a bit more massage. Okay. And I am going to, see, I want to keep a center part. So you just sort of eyeball it. And you're up. And just let it fall into place. And then tap down and take it off. Okay, do one next to it. And wipe the tip off because then you'll get a nicer start. And let it fall into place and wipe it off. Now what you can do is on the end, you can see the little points, Missy. And I'm just going to take those off of there so they're not sticking out. Then I'm going to leave myself a space. And again, let it fall into place. And like some people, like I said, they do two-handed. I get away with the one-handed. And down and tap off. And don't have to be as picky as what I am. And if you're not sure what it's going to look like too, then, and I just realized, it's lifting up here a bit, so I'm just going to give it a gentle tap down. Maybe I'm not. Don't want it to be off the cookie, and that's what it is right now. It's off the cookie. I'm just gently going to put it down there. So this one, I'm going to start it a little lower so that it's there. Now it should drop right away. Yeah. And I may go a little bit slower than a lot of people, but I want to get it right where I want it. And taking that tip off. And then I'm going to come over here and I want to leave about the same space. And we're just going to do another line, let it drop into place and down. Okay, so I'm going to go on this side, tap down, and let it fall into place. I find this so therapeutic. I mean, I'm not making these to sell, so I'm not working faster, and plus I'm working slower so you guys can see what I'm doing. So this time I'm actually going to support it because I'm reaching over here. So I'm using my second hand to hold my wrist in place. Okay. And when I like this spins around and you can just do your little tap down. That's sticking out, I don't want that. There we go. So now I'm gonna go over to my thumb. Because that one's already there, I am just gonna continue and use that as my guide. And again, now I'm using two hands. And then over here. And you can take your icing off with just a little bit of your scribe tool, okay? Just gonna, because we're on the very edge of the cookie, I'm just gonna do that. Okay, and then we're ready to go on to our next step. Okay. So what I plan on doing next, it's all about being creative. So I'm just going to do like a little teardrop and down. Whoops. And I got something sticking up there I don't want. So I'm just going to push and pull. Push and pull. Push and pull. Push and pull. So I'm sort of doing like if you were knitting, doing that effect down my cookie. And because it's a stiffer icing, then it's going to stay where it is. It's not going to... Oops, I didn't like that. And because I'm doing this on camera, I'm sort of in a bit of an awkward, oops, position. And stuff happens. So my cookie is not completely firm. And I hit it with my tip. Isn't that looking cool? So I'm just going to do this. I'll put it on fast forward and it'll go a lot faster for you. All right, so I got the cookie done, and I got a couple tails here that I don't want to show, so I'm just going to gently move them in. And I think what I've decided is I was using a 3. I'm going to use a 3 for the lines, and I'm going to switch to a 2 for doing this work here, just so it's a little bit finer in detail. So we could call this cookie done, but I am going to make little poinsettias to put on the cookies. And I'm just going to continue working on my cookies. I'll show you some of the different designs that I've done, and we'll show you the finished product. So I thought I would show you this. This is a cookie that I'm working on, and you can see it broke right here. So I'm just gently going to take that right off and do this one again. So just scrape it off and just do this gently. You won't even notice. And then I'm going to go in and put in my new line. And there we go. And that was because of an air bubble at some point in the cookie. Now, if it happens here and I catch it right away, well, let's see if I can make it happen. So I am going to do my line. I'm just going to pull it. So there. Instead of doing what I did with the other one, I'm just going to come back in and gently work it in there. Let it fall. And continue on. Now you can see there's like a little tiny bump there, and right here is the better. Let me show you that on an angle. You can see where it's showing there. So I am just going to go in here with my scribe and just play with it a bit. And you're going to be really gentle, or you're just going to make it look worse. And you can wet your scribe a bit if you want. And there. Your average person is not even going to notice that when it's all decorated. Okay, so I finished piping with my 3, and I just wanted to show you how I take it. It just comes right off. Of course, there's icing in there. And then I can put on my 2. And I just keep working with the same bag. Whoops, let's get this. There, and we're on. So all those cookies, I've finished doing the lines. And now I'm going to start doing the same thing, but this time I have a smaller tip that I'm going to use. So let's just start it off. And you can see right away, I'm getting more of a little teardrop, and that's what I want. So I'm just putting a little ball and then pulling it over. A little ball, pulling it over. And I'm just going to continue that all the way down, and then I'll show you the difference between the 3 and the 2 tip. I just realized when I was filming it was sideways, so I thought I would do it this way so you actually see it, you know, coming down towards you. So I'm just going to squeeze my little pearl thing and then pull, and there I've got it. So again, put my little bobble and pull. Now that one didn't go down all the way, that's okay. Just connect when you go down. And that one's going to be a little bigger. And see, I covered up what was sticking out there and down. And down. And it just takes a bit of practice. And some of mine seem to work perfect, and other ones are like, what? Okay, so that's the 2 tip. And then this is the 3. So you can see this is a lot finer and this is a lot bigger. And I want to go with the finer, so I'm going to continue working on this cookie with the fine, and then we'll do some other designs. Here's another cookie that I just did. Now this is actually really fragile because when you go over the line that's underneath, it lifts it up off the cookie, so it's not touching. So they are very fragile, but I just went back and forth all the way down doing like a lattice. But like I said, this is a very delicate cookie. Now this one I'm gonna do, and I'm just gonna do lines and dots, and I just get an idea in my head and it's like, oh, I can do that. So lines, oh, and I touched that. So you have to be careful when you're doing this kind of stuff, because the other ones were sitting and drying. So you basically can do anything you want. And the one thing about like this cookie, if you were just leave it white, you don't even need colors. You could just do this with your icing sugar. No need to color anything. Now I do have white dye that I can use with my cookies. And that's I use if my if my vanilla just has not changed enough to go white. And that usually will work. The more you whip your icing, it'll turn whiter when you put vanilla in. Now this I didn't put vanilla in because I have peppermint. Okay, I'm just going to quickly do this. All right, this cookie's done, and I'm just going to work on some of the little points to bring them down. And you have to be really careful when you're working on these that you don't bump those other ones, because you could actually break them right off your cookie. So the other thing to do is make sure you tie this icing in with it, and it will sort of lock it into place. Okay, so that's a different design. That is done. On to my next one. All right, this one I'm just going to do circles or dots. And this is probably one of the quicker designs to do. So I'm just going to continue, and I'll come back and show you the cookie once it is done. I just wanted to show you, and I don't know if you can see from that angle, but if I turn it this way, can you see the peak that's on that little dot? Let's see, we'll just move it. I think right there we got it. Sometimes what you need to do is go back in and just with your scribe, push those little peaks down there, and then just make sure and clean your scribe off. It makes it easier. All right, there's this finished cookie. Now I think what I'm going to do is switch out to number 1, and oh no, I got a few more, then I'll switch out to number 1. But I'm going to wrap up these cookies that I'm working on and get on to the fancy ones. This design is probably one of the quickest ones to do. It's just going across to a point, tapping down, going to a point, and tapping down. And that's done. So I'm going on to the next row, tap down, and I'm keeping my icing, my tip close to my cookie because I don't want it to lift off and not be touching. And I am using my arm to help guide, or my hand to help guide my arm, just to give it a bit more support. So this is probably like the quickest and easiest one when it comes to decorating. For the ones I'm doing, like the mitten cookies that I'm doing here. So just tap, move, tap. Okay, and then what I do here, because I got a little bit, is I will just do some little peaks, just so there's something there. Okay, and that one is done. Hi, I just realized as I'm editing this video, I don't have my clip for how to do the fancy one, so let's go take a look at one of the fancy ones I have, and I'll explain what I did. All right, so here's one of the cookies, and this is one that I did a poinsettia on. Let's just go in closer. I'm just glad, whoops, I broke the poinsettia. I'm just glad that I had this one left over, and all I did is I just drew the outline to like a poinsettia. This one I only did 5, other ones I did 6, and then I just dropped in some curlicues and little dots. So like I said, these, you can do anything you want. Use your imagination. Other ones I did is just curlicues and dots. But your imagination is where you want to go. So let's see, what is today? It's a Sunday, a week before Christmas. So my niece is coming up for Christmas and planning on staying for a couple days afterwards. So I'm hoping the Tuesday following Christmas, we're gonna make cookies for the new year. So stay tuned for that video, and it would give you time to make your own cookies for the New Year's. So thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Click that like button and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.